The ugly, I would say the ugly is really still with us, and it relates to Georgia, because it was still less than 3 years ago that we had Russians' military intervention in Georgia, and this changed the security situation in Europe, because of course it was the first time since the end of the Cold War that Russia militarily attacked a neighbouring sovereign country on the pretext of protecting the nationals living in Georgia. So this indeed was, to my mind, very ugly. It was an ugly reminder, especially on the streets of Riga, about a somewhat unpredictable and aggressive neighbour out to reassert its influence. So the good, the bad and the ugly vis-à-vis the US-Russia reset. What are the implications of this for Latvia within Europe? When we had 4 senators come through Riga a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting with these senators, and during the course of the meeting, one of them said, well, how has Latvia fared during this reset? What are your views on the reset? These were all Republican senators, and I think they may have been disappointed with my response, because I said, actually, I think that Latvia has done very well out of the reset during the last couple of years. And the reason I say this is that, first of all, our situation since President Obama went to his first NATO summit in Kiel, Strasbourg, and then to Prague, made a very important statement relating to the defence of all NATO allies and the question of all allies having contingency plans or words to that effect. And in fact, this question of plans within NATO this question has moved ahead during this Obama administration, as has a very other important element of security, and that is the question of exercises and the visibility of, in particular, US and other allied troops in our region. There were a number of important military exercises last year on Latvian territory, and these were US, Baltic, often with the engagement of Polish, other NATO partners. And this visibility was part of the reassurances that really came out of the Lisbon summit and the new strategic concept of the alliance. And in a perverse way, of course, the events in Georgia helped to contribute to these developments over the last couple of years. I think that's probably the case. And as I mentioned, on the question of the transit of goods to the NATO operation in Afghanistan, certainly Latvia has also reaped gains, certainly from the US transit to Afghanistan of non-military goods through the port of Riga along the northern distribution line. In addition, Latvian producers have now also received contracts for the supply of products to the US Army. We're talking about bottled water, flour, dried milk, I think also some timber. And I was reading just in today's press summaries that our Minister of Defence, Arts Pabriks, was quoted as saying that last year Latvia earned something like $8 million US from our transit of goods through the port of Riga and through Latvia across Russia to Afghanistan. And it's also likely that we will, well, it is the case that we are pushing for goods at the time of withdrawal and drawdown of troops to come back through along the same route through the port of Riga. So at the same time, we should be, of course, under no illusion concerning what Russia's position is on the bad and the ugly points that I've mentioned. I think on missile defence in particular, every effort is being made by Russia to have a say in the decision-making process and to use the discussions as a means of trying to get into NATO through the back door. And this also, I would say, ties in with Russia's aim to maximise its influence, or alternatively, as a former Minister of Defence of the United Kingdom recently said to me, cause as much trouble in the alliance as possible without being a member of either NATO or the European Union. So, cause trouble, maximise their influence in the decision-making process, and also, of course, and we have witnessed this over the last couple of years, Russia does use the tactic of divide and rule to influence the member states in the decision-making process. I must say that we, of course, are secure in NATO, and my view is that Russia does not pose a threat to Latvia. But we need to be aware of these issues, and we also need to be aware of the fact that Russia increasingly may like to use soft power rather than its military aggression as it used in Georgia. And the soft power, I think, is probably demonstrated in a number of ways, but we can perhaps discuss that later on. So, just in closing, let me just make a couple of short points. The transatlantic link is an essential element of Latvia's security. And it's important to emphasise this because there are contentions that the US is paying less interest to Europe. Victor has mentioned this in his words of introduction. You've got the drawdown of the brigade from Europe and the focus on China and Asia. And also, there is also a theory out there, and I say this is a theory, that the USA is looking towards the Nordic countries to play a greater role in our security and in regional security in particular. So transatlantic link is essential. Europe is the cornerstone of US engagement and a catalyst for global cooperation. That's a quote from Vice President Joe Biden, and this is the third cornerstone that I've referred to. And he also mentioned that, and I quote, "Our relationship with Europe will be essential as we move from the confrontation to cooperation with Russia," end of quotation. So this is the position of the United States vis-à-vis Europe and how the US and Russia relationship is at the moment. And let's not forget there are implications of dual US-Russia presidential elections next year. And it's clear that for both the USA and Russia, this is now a window of opportunity that both sides will want to use in moving things ahead. And finally, just to throw out another thought, because the ambassador of Poland is sitting on the front row, perhaps it's also the case that